Hello, everyone, and thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Anything Joe's. When we first went to record this episode, we researched online the first episode of the G.I. Joe cartoon and foolishly pulled up what is technically correct is still in the wrong order. We were looking for the first episode of the first season, but forgot that there were two five-part miniseries that technically aired before these that weren't considered a part of the regular run. So instead of starting with the Mass Device like we should have, we actually started with the Pyramid of Darkness, which was the premiere of the regular series. So I hope you'll forgive the many examples where we talk about this being the premiere of the G.I. Joe series when in fact it's actually episode 11. Regardless of that fact, I think it's a pretty great episode, and I thanks so much for tuning in and watching it. With that in mind, let's get on with the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Anything Joe's, a collaborative journey through the world of G.I. Joe. My name is Greg Engel,
And I'm Jaren Decker.
and we'll be your host today. It's a very special episode of Anything Joe's today, something we've been talking about for a while, and I think now is finally the time. Jaren is going to watch the very first episode of the G.I. Joe original animated series from the early 80s, which I'm sure many of us are familiar with. And there's a bit of a culture shock compared to the learning process that we've looked at up to this time. We've primarily only studied the comic for the background information of the characters, with a dash of looking at the file cards, the characters themselves, etc. So we haven't really done a lot of uh, looking at the cartoon because again, everything is so different. Now, Jaren, if I remember correctly, it comes up all the time, so I know you haven't seen the animated movie. That's for another day altogether. Have you seen any episodes of the G.I. Joe animated series before?
Yes. Which ones I couldn't tell you because it was just kind of it was on YouTube when they were doing those streamings. When they used to stream them. I don't know. They might still do it where they streamed them all the time on Hasbro's YouTube, and I
Mm-hmm.
would just watch it. And so I've caught glimpses of some of them, but I've never it was when we were in the hospital having kids. That was when that was my time watching it. So I was not crazy super focused.
Um, do you know if you've seen this one, the very first one?
I think I've seen parts of it.
Okay. So, briefly, the cartoon universe is almost as radically different as it gets. From the beginning, as children, we were, the existential struggle of comic book or cartoon universe, which one was more for you? And I think depending on kind of like your age or maturity would depend on which one you leaned into. Although I liked them both for what they were, I think I started with the cartoon because I was very young when the G.I. Joe, everything kind of got started. And then as I grew up, I kind of grew into the comic, and it sort of changed my worldview on how everything worked. So the G.I. Joe cartoon is not based in reality at all. This is obviously a children's cartoon, and the comic book was written for, it wasn't written down to children. It was written at a fairly, mature level. But the cartoon was like, yeah, this is baby talk. We do babies. No, there's like all the guns shoot lasers. All the characters are ridiculous. There's no weapon proficiency. Everybody can fly a Sky Striker. Like there's very little, and there's not a lot of reality grounded going on. Not just like there's supernatural elements of it, like weird mysticism, but almost all of the rules of like just natural science do not apply in the G.I. Joe cartoon, and that's fine. Again, it's intended for people that like to lean more into the science fiction fantasy elements of the universe, or just don't want to take it so seriously. Not everything has to be, super realistic military stuff. So what makes G.I. Joe so great is that there was something for everybody, even from the very beginning. You could kind of lean into what your preference was. So we're going to watch the very first episode of G.I. Joe. The original run of the cartoon was launched off of the success of the uh, comic book commercials. We talked about this extensively, but they came up with the brilliant idea of advertising for the comic book via like a cartoon, and basically a little 30-second clip that was like, "Why'd you get your number one?" or "Find out what happens next." Those were so successful that it led to the pitch of the cartoon, and the cartoon, hit the airwaves and very quickly, considering how many episodes they would put out in a season. It's crazy to think that the first season, the as we label it, the first season of G.I. Joe is like 65 episodes. Like that's some NCIS level viewability. But yeah, it aired Monday through Friday. You know, they would air a five-parter, and you would watch it every
New
single day.
episodes? New
Yeah,
episodes every day.
yeah. I mean, it went
Monday
into
through Friday.
like I don't know what they called. I don't know if it was called syndication back then, but they went into reruns immediately. But yeah, so if new stuff was airing, like you would look at the database for it, and it would show every single day you would have an episode for a long time running. Of course, it wasn't like it is now. If you missed an episode, you didn't really know unless it was in the middle of a five-parter, so you would just wait for it to replay. So it was always kind of as a kid, you're always kind of juggling. You'd wake up Saturday morning, and it'd be time to watch cartoons. You'd put them on. You'd go, oh, I've seen this one. You click over to CBS. You'd be like, oh, I haven't seen this one. Whatever. It was a whole thing. When I was a kid, watching Saturday morning cartoons was a big deal. I was like watching Ninja Turtles on this channel, and I was taping something on this channel so I could go back and watch it later. Because again, if you missed it, that was it. You got to wait until it was replayed. So I took it real seriously. I used to record that stuff and watch it religiously. I was big into it. G.I. Joe was not part of the like not part of my Saturday morning cartoons. It aired on the USA Network for when I was a kid. They had a show called USA Cartoon Express, which was just like a block of cartoons of that era, and that's where I used to always see G.I. Joe. Used to always air after gym because I would get home from school and you could catch like the last 10 minutes of gym, which I did not like at the time. I think gym was great now, but as a kid I was like, give me my military boys shooting up snake people. Good memories. Anyway, so the success of the commercials is what launched the cartoon, and the cartoon was, as far as I know, a runaway hit. Also, it was a staple for most people as they were watching, whatever they were watching after school. And this one is more like this has been rebranded and relabeled a couple of times. The first five episodes, of course, consist of one major block. We've talked about this many times, but the most famous G.I. Joe stories are inevitably the multi-parters. The five-parters were always the thing that you look forward to as a kid. And in the beginning of the series, you have two back-to-back five-parters. And as I understand it, it's because the first five-parter wasn't an actual like episode order. It was like a trial, like do a little mini-series, see if it's successful, go from there. And it was, so they launched the series right after it, and that's why you have two back-to-back five-parters. They usually would save it for like the season premiere, or the movie gets broken up into a five-parter also later on. Um, so yeah, this one is so there's a little bit of a variation between this and later episodes, I think, because there's a little bit of a break between this first five episodes and the rest of the entire season as it airs. Also, they're trying to introduce a bunch of people all at once, so they honestly do a pretty good job for how much information they have to cram into it. So enough of that. Let's get started. A couple of rules. I don't know how strict YouTube's going to be on sharing this episode. I'd like to have it alongside us so you can watch it with us. But if they hit me for copyright, then I got no choice. I'll do the best I can to get the best of use of it out of on the channel that I can. If you're listening to this or the video, is just simply a no-go, the audio will be playing kind of in the background. You can match it up, and we'll do a countdown before we start. We're watching this off of YouTube, so I'm optimistic that they're not going to hassle me too much about something that's already here for free. We're also using it for review purposes, but YouTube's crazy. The legal system makes no sense. Just do whatever you want. We're never going to get monetized. The secret Patreon. So anyway, all right. So if you're watching along with us, it's the Further Adventures of G.I. Joe, Season 1, Episode 1. And I'm going to count it down, and then we'll get started. All right. If you've got it pulled up on YouTube, I'm going to count it down. We'll all start it together. On 0, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. This might be the most iconic Saturday morning cartoon theme of all time. Obviously, I'm biased, but this opening is. I got everything you would want in it. For a first episode, even, like, you see just about every character doing something. Poor Destro. Throwing a lightweight.
Just keep throwing them. Yeah, shipwreck the pilot.
That's right. Don't get too stressed out about it. They can all do everything. I do. There's a lot of great vehicles and stuff that are designed for this. That's the Super 7 ship we were talking about recently. That's
That thing looks
obviously,
huge.
yes, it's supposed to be like about 50 times bigger than what they were designing. But I get that the scale makes it almost impossible. But the cartoon designed a lot of crazy stuff like that on their own. The Steel Kaiju that got made that I was kind of
Oh
nutty
yeah.
for. Yeah, that's something that was derived from this a fan made thing based on the craziness, I mean the coolness of it. Honestly, they make Cobra a real fringe cult group with some of the stuff they design. The season 1, episode 1 is called "The Further Adventures of G.I. Joe." It's written by Ron Freeman, who wrote quite a few of these. It's good. They have a pretty reliable stable of people that they come back to for writing these. Although I don't feel like any one specific writer stands out. These all kind of work within the same rules of zaniness. There's some crazier plots than others, but I feel like they all kind of still work in the same world.
They should have given this episode the George Lucas treatment and went back and made that a Defiant.
That huge base opening up, like they love hiding all their architecture in plain sight. Joe's and Cobra's both, really.
They were just in the mountains, and then they were on like that perfectly open runway.
Yep. Yeah, nothing
Now they're
suspicious. What's this gigantic rock with a runway leading away from it?
Serpentine, Flint. So far, the launch looks WOC. Without
Wizards of the Coast, they've just been acquired. I like to rip these cartoons up a lot, and I think part of it's because I've just seen them so much. I mean, I've watched some of these episodes maybe hundreds of times, the ones that I really rely on. So it's with love that I lampoon.
Cobra circle the launch site.
His tanks not only fired on their own, but they're not even firing obviously no guns, but you would have expected to fire lasers.
Yes, Thomas. Now let's take Birdie home to Cobra.
I like that they made a net to stop a rocket ship.
Yeah, no chance that rocket would just plunge his tanks into orbit immediately. It does make you wonder in the 80s if writers for these cartoons were just like, man, kids aren't going to know any better, which they're right. This cartoon probably did more damage to my logistical thinking than any other influence. Oh my gosh, the Sky Striker. I was going to comment on how that his tank was unique because it had two
seats.
gunner seats, yeah.
Yeah, it looked bigger than the others.
Hey, I never laid a glove on you. I feel what my brother feels. Terrific. Pass this on.
Thanks for telegraphing that. So, I guess a lot of guys they never met Tomex and Zaymot before this, so it's supposed to be pretty early on in their, encounters. Yeah, just shoot that rocket. What were they going to do? If there was no abduction attempt, were they just going to go into orbit? Or were they going to jump out at the last second and be like, nice job, guys?
Ah, look at those beautiful planes.
So many Sky Strikers.
Slugger, right? Is that what that one is?
Yes.
These not
Sharks.
inconspicuous rocks.
Yeah. The money that goes into the production budget on just their base stuff is crazy. At least Cobra has the decency to just carve their stuff out of rock. These guys are spending billion-dollar military budgets. Oh, they did it. That huge restraining net. It was able to break free. I'm so pleased. Oh, it's a different hiss now. It's like a normal one. The hiss tank goes under more redevelopments than anything I've ever seen. Both in the comic and the cartoon. It's never... Wow, that hiss tank pulled a Yui big time.
Keep kicking Snake. We've got him on the run.
God, I love this.
So many great snake puns. Who was driving?
You could join us.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
No one anymore. That's scrap iron?
Yeah, it was scrap iron. The ineffectiveness. There's a bunch of great green shirts running around.
Stop surrendering and listen to me. Stand back. My troopers may be cowardly, but I'll never yield.
Not the side of Cobra Commander that we see normally. And normally he would just, especially in the cartoon, would just give up. Here's another great cartoon invention.
What is that thing?
These giant water robots.
Sushi, what were those?
Just gone. Why didn't they? Why didn't the robots stop the
Right.
rocket
It
ship?
could have
They
just
could
been
have
like
just grabbed it.
He could have just smushed them all right then and there.
Shipwreck, you and Snake Eyes lead a detachment into the river and find Cobra Commander and the Crimson Twins.
It's crazy that the cartoon started pretty quickly after the comic, but there's this whole roster of people that we haven't met in the comic book yet. We're already
Yeah.
we're already using like the next version of Snake Eyes in this.
Faster, sailor! Put the pedal to the metal!
Polly doesn't parrot anything. Polly just like knows everything. Has heard every word. Has a full vocabulary.
He's like Meowth from Pokemon.
Yes,
He just talks.
and everybody understands him. It's not like some weird like Snake Eyes speaks to Timber in some secret language or something. They just totally accept that. But with this one pet is basically a fully functioning speaking member.
He's got his own pension.
I love that they couldn't get in the robots. They had to wear scuba gear and sit on their shoulder. Like there's no room in there for them. Sorry, it's all full.
Now climb down.
It's like the insides of them are made of water also. It's real cool.
Robots, return.
Yeah, we need some of those to go with the Steel Kaiju.
Would have been nice if they could have thought of a cooler name other than water robots, but okay.
Oh, is that their name?
Yeah.
Don't even know it. Ahoy, mates! Get a grip on your tattoos.
Tattoos. There you go, Greg. That's why they got to put them on.
Those are-
That's why they're on
that's
every
right.
classified figure.
Get a hold of your water slides and put them on your body. Oh no, rock and roll fell. All his tattoos fell off.
Look out! Man underboard!
Man underboard.
The voices in this show are so just perfect. Like I couldn't imagine the people that voice in these characters be done by anybody else. In a very real way, they are 100% the voices of the character across the board. Like no matter how I imagine them.
That humongous H2O bot got shipwrecked. Dive, Snake Eyes! Dive if you want to stay alive!
There's our rhyming roadblock.
There's just another submarine.
This is
having
awesome.
handy.
Like what a cool idea. Like he's picking up like a wreck and swinging it at him. Like I love that. I also love that all the animals get to ride on the shark. They're completely dangerous. Like if they blow up or explode, which seems to happen quite a bit, then your animal is on its own. Maybe Timber could get out, but I think Polly would be in big trouble.
Yeah.
Good. Follow me.
They just add whatever.
Hey.
They're like,
The sharks can do everything.
yeah, they're just like, all right. They also have a camera on top. You guys didn't know it? Check the blueprints.
They've flown. They've submarined. They've dug a tunnel.
I'll take cartoon Cobra bases over comic book Cobra bases anytime. Comic book Cobra bases are always like underneath car washes or like they're just secretly laundromats, or stuff like that. These guys, they're like we built an entire Roman temple underwater. Like so wild. I don't understand how the water robot works.
It is just like
yeah,
water,
there's water
in
inside,
there.
right? But no
And
room
it
for Cobra
shoots them
Commander.
back out.
Let's see, it seems like you'd be doing them a favor. Those fly. I don't
Yeah.
know if you guys knew that. That's like their whole thing is they also fly.
Your water robots have cleared the area.
I like the wardrobe change for them all real quick.
Tomex and Zamott's business outfits absolutely rules. A cartoon original.
Destro, we're expecting you.
Not something that we got we got a figure form of them in the later years, but something that I wanted a lot as a kid. Tomex and Zaymot get really cemented as like businessmen pretty early on, and I think this outfit favors them. There's extensive enterprises. Tomex and Zaymot's home roost.
From the west, and we'll squeeze him in the middle.
Like this is just like classic design right here with the Rattler and the Sky Striker. Just a
Yeah,
whole
it looks
building.
great. Sometimes their model detail is just like flawless. And it's like everything looks great, and then other times it'll look like it's been. I mean, like it's got to be difficult drawing this type of stuff. I know in the comic book universe, the artists talk all the time about how it's hard to get all the details right. So for this time, like I got to give them credit. Some of this stuff is detailed extremely well.
Enterprise City's
Good old Arthur Burkhart. It's got
Then the city's
get
too
that man
risky
down pat.
digestion.
Let's get back to headquarters.
My scheme was even more brilliant than usual. The attack on the space shuttle was merely a diversion to mask our true purpose, the secret planting of a special cargo. Replay the tape.
Where's the Cobra that's recording that? Camera Viper, pretty good job, but you could focus a little more. Whoa, they opened that.
I like that no one noticed this. Just
And how will the unique and charming cargo inside the pod be activated, Cobra Commander?
Why, by Zartan, of course.
Zartan? But how would he get aboard the space shuttle?
He is already aboard.
Oh, snap. Sorry, I'm going to pause it right here. They're doing a great job of introducing a lot of people in a really small amount of time. And I
Yeah.
got to give them credit. Like, I think they expected you to have a little bit of awareness going into it. You've probably read the comics, seen the commercials, bought the figures. They're thinking, you're going to know at least some of these guys. The other thing I wanted to say that I'd missed, I'm going to back it up just a little bit, is this part where they're opening this part right here. This effect, which I'm sure they've used in many other cartoons of this era, is one of my all-time favorite graphical effects of the 80s. I don't know how they do it, and again, I bet they probably used it in Transformers also, but I haven't watched a lot of Transformers. But you see this effect in lots of episodes, and every time I see it, I'm always like, what an awesome special effect to have in animation. Really, it's just really exceptional. One of many musical cues that will be recycled over and over until you know it and think about it your whole life because it's been used in hundreds of episodes. It's crazy. They don't have that many musical cues they use in this show, and this is stuff that they used in Transformers also. But you really start to remember it after a while. Oh, wonder who that is. They shot
non-Joe character is
right.
in this thing.
Who Green Shirt Nartaz is over here. They lean away from Zartan turning blue in the comic. In the beginning, it's kind of hinted at, but the cartoon they full on lean into it like that's his thing. He turns blue in the sunlight. Although just then, when they're in the rocket, I'm not sure if that would have been applicable.
Funny side note: my Zartan from being in the basement stays blue.
Oh,
Like,
really?
It's cold enough down here. My classified and regular one.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The G.I. Joe cartoon has a motto of, don't matter what your specialty is, go on and get. Like, with Steelers on the space shuttle, Breaker's a communications expert, I can let that fly. But it's just like, there's no rhyme or reason to who gets. Dusty is flying the spaceship. Dusty is flying the spaceship. They're just like, it doesn't matter. They all do everything. They're all great. That's why they're at the top of the class. They brought a dog into space.
Whatever's in there, come on out.
What the heck is this thing? Oh, they're cute.
How adorable.
I mean, they're a little freaky. I don't know if I'd be touching it.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like Gremlins influence, I would think, is what it makes me think of.
No. Well, they're definitely bad. The dog just barked at them.
For sure.
That's a dead giveaway.
Same thing in Gremlins. Dog.
Yeah.
They know.
You gotta trust fatal fluffies. All right.
That's not what it says. Stop. They're deadly secret. And this says, I'm sure you will enjoy their amazing split personality. That's not sincerely yours.
Is there Also misspelled?
That's I mean, there's a lot of wait till you see these guys try to draw a map of the U.S. It's awesome. It's like zoned out like a completely.
Is this the Dreadnoks handiwork? Is that who wrote these?
I mean, if they typed up the top part of it, but that's a pretty good no prize.
Sincerely yours.
I have to give you credit. Yeah, that doesn't explain why Mutt would improv what this card says at the end. I'm from a rational perspective, I'm assuming that is maybe a change in the script. Like maybe what he said is what was supposed to be on the card, and they like couldn't spell it, or it was a translation thing or something. There's got to be a reason there's so many of these typos in the show, and I can only assume it's some kind of international divide, like where they're animating and they're animating it based on the look of the character, not actually what the word is. That's just a guess. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I like it.
Wow, he's got his own business cards.
What does he mean? Deadly secret.
They've had
You
to
should
take
probably not trust them.
Yeah, right. That's the first instinct. You should just shoot him dead. Oh, never mind.
What the heck?
Wow,
I've got Krampuses.
Where'd those
that
guns
shoot
come from?
lasers. What the heck?
Stop. Where did those guns come from? They pulled a gun.
They got,
they're
like,
breathing fire.
metal armor.
Yeah, I mean, like, sure, right? Hello, folks. It's me, Greg, the cartoon expert. Let's not lean in too much to, oh, sure, that little guy can turn into that big guy, but he couldn't have had a gun hidden away somewhere. I get it, right? We're well in the realm of fiction. There's not enough no prizes in the world to save it, but still pretty funny. Also, like I said, they're on a spaceship and they're all like breathing fire and shooting lasers.
Please tell me these guys got, like, somebody made a toy of these somewhere. Even if it's not official.
I have seen a custom of the, like, baby Fluffy, but I have not. I'm sure they're out there, but I've not seen any mass-produced product like this on the custom market. It's such a complicated build to make the bigger version for sure. I'm really fond of this guy right here. Can you see my mouse?
Yeah.
I'm really fond of this little guy right here. He looks sick compared to the others. My name's Gilmo, and I was invited. Okay, anyway, I just thought it was funny that they had stuff, like, tucked away. They have they only have 4 fingers.
Except for on the other hand, they have 3.
Yeah, no thumb on that one. I guess I can't. You go down this rabbit hole, Jaren. We'll have to extend the whole show. There's a lot of flaws.
These things are dope. Is this their only appearance, or do they come back?
They're part of this miniseries, but just this miniseries.
That's a shame.
They would create a lot of stuff in Mendus that was just to be used at this one time. Vehicles and weapons and enemies. They took a lot of. They've taken some, like, creative control on some of these early V1 characters. Like Steeler especially looks a lot different, like with the dark green and light green suit.
Yeah.
He's got a kind of a basic V1 green shirt vibe, but it still looks.
Where'd they get those?
Where did they?
Did they not inspect anything that came on their spaceship? It's got Cobra logos all over it.
We hit them wherever the Fatal Fluffies hit those guns. You don't want to know, man.
Close your beak. Poor Polly's been holding his breath for 10 seconds before
Troopers,
they
man. All of the interior design of Cobra, and this is true for most 80s stuff. Any internal workings of Transformers, like the Technodrome from Ninja Turtles, all has this wild panel Kirby style design. I love the interiors of all this stuff. It's just like huge walls of computers and technology.
Yeah.
They have their own subway system. Like, it's rad.
Cartoon Cobra does not mess around about logistics.
No, they've got the budget. Like, they really build the big stuff. They're showy. That's what I like about it. They're showy.
Yeah.
Here's the Snakelings, which you might remember from the Super 7 figures that just released. They're also exclusive to this, basically this miniseries. Kind of a weird in between, not officers, not Vipers. I guess they're just. I think they're
They're
like.
the clerical staff.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to be duty workers.
Nice day, huh? Or nice night. Who cares down here, right? Am I right?
No one asks any questions about the guy with the full face mask.
Yeah, it's weird that they're all unmasked too. You wouldn't be like, here's the face of the enemy.
Relax and act natural.
Or the dog and parrot. Or wolf and parrot.
Yeah. There's the GI Joe headquarters as the toy. Well, not the normal pit that we're used to. CoverGirl, That's interesting that Quick Kick is pictured there because Quick Kick hasn't joined the team yet. He'll join in a later episode. There he is, right there, celebrating. But that's okay. We haven't met him yet.
Thank you for responding to my transmission. It has enabled me to lock firing coordinates on your headquarters.
Oh no.
Get him, Zartan. Great effect again. Wow. Hope you didn't buy that, kids, because it's like a Mandalorian all over again. Hope you didn't just invest a lot of money in that, because we just blew it up. It's alright, it'll be back like in an episode. No continuity at all. That's the packaging for the Super 7 SDC 7 last year. That's what the box art looked like.
That's a cool design.
Great temple. I love the big view screen. They've got like a little interactive hologram disc table there, right? That thing. Yeah, I love all this stuff. I would love to have this stuff as like playset stuff. Missed opportunity then, missed opportunity now. So here's the big plan.
When these control cubes are placed at each of the four corners of the Earth,
Stop. Jaren, I'm an idiot, and we all know it. Can you explain? So, do you understand the let's back up. I forget that you haven't seen this 1,000 times and analyze it to death. Here's the concept. Zartan's up here in the satellite. Okay. We're going to put 4 cubes around the globe, and then the satellite's going to activate them. It's going to plunge the world into darkness. Right? That's the plan.
Sure.
Okay. What about these guys? What's going on down here? What happens?
The southern hemisphere is just exempt, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, why not put another cube down at the bottom, or are we just going to be like, hey, I'm an idiot. I don't know how the world rotates, but you'd be like, well, there's a month where you will in fact have power, courtesy of Cobra, and then you rotate into the void, and I don't know. This doesn't seem
This is before they established daylight savings time. This is just an early attempt at it. They're like, well, we're trying to save sunlight.
They're like, nobody lives down there. Don't sweat it.
So what is the world here? Like, I'm trying to figure out what is this?
I have no idea. I mean, like, just there's a very loose interpretation, but there's no static way that the globe is drawn. It exists in a world where things have changed. Something has happened in the world. Cobra has separated continents in a different way, and here they are. All right, anyway.
they will link with the space station to form this
I'm so confused.
beneath which no electrical energy source will function.
Without energy to
Okay.
power its vehicles and factories or run its military and defense systems, the world will crumble beneath our heel.
The first
All right, so no electricity.
almost completed, and when you and its duplicates are in position,
Interesting.
shall rule forever.
So you just got to get south of that border.
Yeah, apparently.
all right.
You can't move because I assume that the satellite doesn't move with you. Maybe it does. I don't know. Somebody smart in the comment section, explain it to me like I'm 5.
The rest of you start rebuilding here. Cobra has bitten us once too often, and we're gonna start biting back.
We're gonna bite them until they run out of teeth to bite us with, and then we're gonna.
But I'm sure they're not dice for a giant crap game.
Here's the robot that also came in that Super 7 set, and the voice print.
Rules forever. You may enter. That's their password. Hail Cobra Commander. The Great Snake rules forever. Repeat.
I love that robot.
Hail Cobra Commander. The Great Snake rules forever. Intruders! Intruders! Intruders must be exterminated!
Oh my gosh. He does not mess around.
Right? Sometimes this system misfires.
Sheesh.
It's pretty messy. Wow, that on
Don't-
top of it. Like,
Don't get a cold.
This is the
Like,
kind of
if your
system,
voice is off,
this
done.
this is the kind of security system that can only be activated once. So really make it count.
Laserdisc, but Cobra catches them red-handed, and this leads to a hair-raising chase through the treacherous Enterprise City subway system. Meanwhile, aboard Space Station Delta, Mutt creates havoc with gravity as Dusty risks his life to reach the command center, and Clint and Lady J make a fatal attempt to stop Destro from planting the first control cube. All in the next exciting episode.
I don't know why. I love that animation of Destro rolling and firing.
that was pretty cool.
They give away so much in those. I don't remember it being like that. They,
Here's everything that happens.
yeah, it's like watching a movie trailer nowadays. They're like, if you can't make it, don't worry about it. Here's the highlight reel. So, that's the first episode of G.I. Joe, the like starting miniseries, basically. Talk to me, Jaren. Like, give me some thoughts on how do you feel about this versus the comic. I mean, I know, like the ridiculous, so I have an inkling of how you're going to lean into it. But go ahead and give me your thoughts on it.
I love it. Like, I think it's so goofy. It's so dumb. It makes me question everything, and I love it for that reason. Like, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, you're right. They do a great job of like actually like fleshing out each or trying to flesh out the characters and giving you, even though they don't have specialties, at least showing something different about each of them. And it is very evident that it is a kid's cartoon because that's a lot of bullets and a lot of vehicles and things being blown up, and everybody's okay.
They
It's
made
wild.
they made some interesting choices because they obviously had a lot of freedom when it came to this cartoon. They were able to make characters, robots, storylines,
Yeah.
buildings, vehicle. I mean, like they really just did whatever they wanted, and that's kind of rare in a world where you not only had a toy property that you were trying to align with, but a very successful comic book that was skyrocketing as well. To have all three things kind of work independently of their own is still, again, part of what I think made G.I. Joe so special as a kid, is it was giving you many different options to pursue how you wanted to play based on what your preference was. And I would argue to this day that it's part of the reason that it had such a strong staying power for so long. The 5-part cartoon series was very influential on me as a young man. I would find myself often, I would play in the same schematic that they laid out for me in the cartoon. I'd be like, oh, here's a thing, a satellite is broken into 5 parts and it's scattered across different parts of the globe. Make 5 different teams and go get them. And then I would play Monday through Friday. It would be all focused on one part every day. And then on the 5th day on Friday, that would be like cleanup day before the weekend was here, and I'd have to put all my stuff up. That would be like the big wrap up where everybody came together and all the parts were assembled and whatever. And because you'd see that time and time again in this, when they make Serpentor, they got to like everybody's got to go get a piece of DNA. And here they're planting a cube in different places every time. So it was a great way to be like, here's a plot that involves a lot of Joes, and lots of Cobras, and it also requires you to build different teams. You can be like snow, desert. You can like put into different environments. It was very impactful on how I played with Joes as a kid. Still kind of is because it's just like this perfect, like Mad Libs format. Such and such has gotten destroyed. Here's so many pieces of it. Go get it. Like it doesn't. You don't have to overthink it, and it's fun like that. So yeah. Closing thoughts. Anything that you didn't expect, anything that you liked, anything you didn't like, anything that you are hopeful for in the coming episodes?
Well, obviously, I need to see Tripwire eventually. I'm going to need him to show But no, like it's wild because like I starting as a classified collector, not really knowing the rest of it, I didn't realize how out there the cartoon really got. I mean, those Fatal Furies are they're out there. Like I was like, oh, can I work these toys into my into my Joe universe? Now I'm like, dude, everything, Alien versus Predator, it's in there. My little Plunderlings, those guys are in there. Like everything exists in the Joe universe now. Like if we can have little knockoff gremlins that transform and find lasers at the sound of a whistle, we could do whatever we want. So no, I really enjoyed it. I like that they kind of broaden the amount of Joes. It's not just like here's two people and that's it. Kind of it allows you to kind of find the character that you like the most, and you can really whichever one resonates with you. So I think that's pretty cool.
I think the cartoon will probably stick with you more than the comic book will. As important as the comic book is, like to learn, I think a lot about the deep backstory of the characters. The cartoon is just like Hawaiian Punch, just like light level fun. You're in and you're out. A bunch of zaniness happens. I know that's kind of how you. I've learned enough about your behaviors and habits that I know that's kind of the kind of thing you like.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll come back and watch more of these. I would love to get through this first miniseries kind of in rapid succession because they all connect and it's like a great sampling of what the cartoon had to offer as a whole. And we would love to hear the feedback from you, listeners and watchers both. If you enjoy this and you'd like to see us lean more into it for a little bit, that's fine. You can hit us up on Twitter or Instagram at anythingjoespod. You can send us an email at anythingjoespod@gmail.com or anythingjoespodcast@gmail.com. And we'd love to hear from you. We'll be back in 2 short weeks with another episode. I have no idea what it is yet. We will figure it out. We got a lot of stuff on the plate, and we're excited to continue. We're starting to really live up to the name of the show at this point. Anything Joe's is, we're sampling from a bunch of different goodie bags all at once, and I think that's very enjoyable. We'll try to stick to a schedule and get some stuff out in succession so we can follow it all along consecutively. Thanks again for watching, and we look forward to talking to you again in just 2 short weeks, where anything's available for discussion here on Anything Joe's.